Okay, so this is a video for my Form 6 pupils, and this is a video about complex numbers. And we've just begun complex numbers, and I just want to record this video for those of you that aren't in class at present, or just as a revision video for anybody in relation to how do we add and subtract complex numbers. So far, if you remember, we know that the square root of -1 is I, and we know that I squared is -1. That's fine. We've also realized that a complex number has a real part and an imaginary part. And I know this sounds like the Marvel universe, but you just have to stick with me. This is often written as A plus BI. In other words, a real part and an imaginary part. So this is the real part, and the bit with the imaginary part has the I. The bit without the imaginary part is the real part. So for example, in this example here, this would be the real part and this would be the imaginary part. Do you notice I'm using RE for real and IM for imaginary? So this would be the real, this would be the imaginary, this would be the real, this would be the imaginary, this would be the real, and this would be the imaginary. Now, that comes in very handy when it comes to adding and subtracting, because like in algebra, we only can add things that are the same to each other. So we only ever add like to like in algebra. So we add x's to x's, y's to y's, x squareds to x squareds, y cubed to y cubed, and so on. Okay, so in complex numbers we add real to real and imaginary to imaginary. So for example, say we had 3 plus 4i plus 5 plus I, we could add the real to the real and the imaginary to the imaginary. So what that turns out to be is 3 plus 5 plus 4i plus I. Real to real, imaginary to imaginary. Now when I add these, when I add 3 plus 5, I just get 8. And when I add 4i plus I, it's like adding x's. If I added 4x and x, I'd get 5x. So 4i and I is 5i. I have 4 i's, one more I will make it 5 i's. And that's the answer. You can't go any further. It's the most simple form. It's the simplest form. Okay? Here's another one, 3 minus 4i plus 2 minus 6i. So I can add real to real and imaginary to imaginary. Now, if I want to jump, I could say 3 plus 2 is 5, minus 4i plus minus 6i is minus 10i. If you can't quite see how I got that, what I did was 3 plus 2 minus 4i plus minus 6i is minus 6i. So 3 plus 2 minus 4i minus 6i, which will be 5 minus 10i. Now, what happens sometimes is that they tell us that one complex number is called Z1, and they tell us what it is, and another complex number is called Z2, and they tell us what it is. So if I'm told Z1 is 2 plus 5i, Z2 is 1 plus 2i, and then sometimes what they'll do is actually I'm going to make that 3, just because it's fewer 2's wandering around, okay? Then they say, find Z1 plus Z2. So what they mean by that is, add Z1, 2 plus 5i, plus Z2, 1 plus 3i. And now we can do that. We've just done that a minute ago. So this is Z1. I've written it down. Now some people like to put it in brackets, just because if we have minuses it makes it easier. But whatever you like. 2 plus 1 is 3. 5i plus 3i is 8i. Or if you wanted, you could write it as 2 plus 1 plus 5i plus 3i, which equals 3 plus 8i. Okay, how about this one? Z1 minus Z2. So subtracting complex numbers is the same idea. Let's write down what Z1 is. 2 plus 5i. Subtract 1 plus 3i. So that's 2 plus 5i minus 1 minus 3i is minus 3i. So I have 2 minus 1 is 1. 5i minus 3i is 2i. You might want to go back over that in the video. Just watch that again and see how it works. Now, sometimes we have to multiply by a real number. So a real number is just a number as you know it, the numbers you've always known. So multiplying, for example, 3 plus 4i by 2 is just like algebra. That's why this is quite an easy topic once you get the hang of it. It's just like algebra. So 2 by 3 is 6, 2 by 4i is 8i. And again, that's in its simplest form. Here, 7 by 5 is 35, 7 by minus 2i is minus 14i, and that's in its simplest form. And then finally, Here's Z1 is 2 plus 5i again. Z2 is 1 plus 3i again. Find 3 times Z1 plus 2 times Z2. So in other words, 3 times Z1 is 3 times 2 plus 5i, plus 2 times Z2 is 2 times 1 plus 3i. So then I've got 3 by 2 is 6, 3 by 5i is 15i, 2 by 1 is 2, and 2 by 3i is 6i. Then I put the same things together, the real and the real, so that'll be 8, the imaginary and the imaginary, so that'll be 21i. And that's it. I hope that helps.